In selecting a master of ceremonies, it was no easy task. It took the committee about 30 seconds to decide on Al Cockendorfer. Al is a sixth-generation Cockendorfer to reside in Buffalo County. He is a U.S. Army combat veteran from the Vietnam War, where he flew 2,111 combat hours as a helicopter pilot. At the end of a 28-year military career in the active Army and the National Guard, Al retired as a lieutenant colonel. As an active VFW member, he is presently seeking election to the state commander's position, Veterans of Foreign Wars, state of Wisconsin. Please welcome your Master of Ceremonies, Al Cockendorfer.
Thank you, Chuck, and thank you, citizens of Buffalo County and from wherever you may be, for joining us today in this approximate 1-hour dedication. I think you are indeed fortunate to be here today, partaking in one of the most historically significant events to occur in Buffalo County's 153-year history. And for the benefit of the media, please hear this. We are not dedicating a war memorial. We, in the veterans community and in this town, I hope never become so demented to do that. We are dedicating a memorial to the veterans who served in wars. To just put your minds in neutral for a second and turn back the hands of time approximately 140 years ago today. Right here in Elma, Wisconsin, perhaps in Fountain City, Wisconsin also, that is river port towns of their day. Most likely it was a hot, humid day, perhaps a little warmer today. The Civil War was only 2 months old, but already patriotic fervor filled the hearts and the minds of most of the 13-year-old Buffalo Counties. Buffalo County was 13 years old then only. 4,446 citizens. The cry was, let's get on with it. Let's go down there to the south and get on with it. Let's teach those darn rebels a lesson they will not forget. Let's keep this nation, one nation, undivided. You can picture young men lining up on the riverfront, waiting to board the riverboats, heading south to the training camps and to the war. The first of many regiments. A regiment is an Army unit consisting of approximately at least 10 infantry companies, 100 men each. What a sight that must have been as Wisconsin a Western frontier state raised regiment after regiment for the Civil War. But it only took a few months for these young men full of patriotic fervor to realize what war was. War was on the 31st of May, 1862 in Louisiana, that reality struck home and the first Buffalo County resident was killed in action. Across this nation today, many citizens and history buffs dress up in authentic uniforms of the Civil War. They don the correct uniforms, of course, and the correct weaponry, and they reenact life and battles of the Civil War. To start activities today, we have reenactors of Company B of the 2nd Wisconsin Regiment. They will load, go through their loading drill, and they will fire one volley to commence proceedings today. Members of Company B, 2nd Wisconsin Regiment.
Shoulder, arm. Low. About 6.
Thank you very much. Throughout recorded history, veterans of military service of nearly all nations have joined ranks. They organized generally for 3 reasons. First, to share comradeship. There are things veterans talk about to fellow veterans and to no one else. Secondly, they organized to continue to provide service to the communities where they lived in or returned to. Thirdly, they organized to petition the government they serve to provide the medical and other care they need to continue as normal a life as possible. Here in Buffalo County, we have long had 4 American Legion and 3 Veterans of Foreign Wars posts that nearly 600 of our veterans belong to. We all know that the memorial is dedicated. This memorial is dedicated to the 144 citizens of Buffalo County who died to preserve our freedoms. But it is also to recognize the service and sacrifice of all of our soldiers, airmen, and Marines who have served their nation in both war and peace. And so it is inscribed on the back panel. Today, color guards of these 7 veterans posts will post their colors and the colors of their nation, and they will stand guard over this monument in a position of the highest honor, overlooking the memorial to their comrades who paid the supreme price. Would all please stand while I call the color guards of these 7 veterans organizations to post. In alphabetical order, the Alma American Legion Post 224, post.
Shoulder, hook. Forward.
Concord, Buffalo City, Veterans of Foreign War, Post 10406 Color Guard is uniquely comprised of combat veterans from World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Persian Gulf War. men who have fought all 4 of our most recent nation's wars. 10406, post.
Good. Work. Good. Work. Hold. Hey.
Fountain City, American Legion Post 56, post. Gilmington, American Legion Post 264, post. Mondovi, American Legion Post 154. Mondovi VFW Post 6711, post. Nelson, VFW Post 6201, post.
Straight. Order. Arm.
Representing the United States Army, Staff Sergeant Yeoman, post. Order, arms. In the vets world, we do not discriminate or make distinction between race, creed, or color, or gender. A vet is a vet. Yet today I must remind you that many Buffalo County veterans were and are women. They were never drafted. They stepped forward and volunteered. Today we have reserved the special place of honor of raising the flag of our nation to the selected women veterans of Buffalo County. The flag being raised today was flown over the United States Capitol and is being donated by Elmer Myers from Mondovi. In charge of the flag detail is Elmer Myers from Mondovi VFW Post 6711. Sergeant Myers, post the colors. All please stand. Please remain standing. For those people not in uniform, facing the flag of our nation, remove your hats, place your right hand over your heart, while the Elma High School Band, directed by Joanne Drexler-Ruff, plays our national anthem. Please feel free to sing along. Please remain standing, and once again, render the appropriate courtesies while we recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States. Mr. Robert Walker from Nelson VFW will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance at this time. Comrade Walker.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Comrade Walker. Please remain standing for our invocation. Our invocation today will be given by U.S. Army and Wisconsin National Guard Chaplain, Lieutenant Colonel John Steiner. Chaplain Steiner is also a pastor at St. Lawrence Church in Elma and at St. Boniface Church in Wamedy. Chaplain Steiner.
Let us pray. Loving God, as we gather here today, our hearts are full of gratitude for the friends, comrades, and countrymen of Buffalo County who served under arms for this nation. We come to remember those who fell in battle and those who, while they did not die, offered their bodies, hearts, and energies fighting for a better world. We remember those who fought for us overseas, who braved the sniper in the jungle, who filled the flak-filled skies, who waded through the mud of Italy, who knew the heat of the desert sun and the cold of the North Atlantic. Greater love has no one than this, that they lay down their life for their friends. Almighty God, grace us with your presence today as we dedicate this memorial. Let it stand in perpetual testimony to their sacrifice and as a pledge for us to hold high the torch they no longer carry. Amen.
You on him?
Thank you, Chaplain Steiner. Would the color guards and the audience please be seated at this time? You know the old cliche that behind every man is a good woman is certainly true in the veterans world. Many of our veterans posts have ladies auxiliaries to their post. The mission and activities of these auxiliaries closely parallel those of the veterans organizations. And I must say that they contribute immeasurably to the veterans post success. Represented here today are members of the Ladies Auxiliary from the American Legion Post 224 at Elma. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you. We also have members of the Ladies Auxiliary to the Cochrane Buffalo City Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 10406. Please stand. We also have members of the Auxiliary to the Gilmington American Legion Post 264 present. Please stand. We also have some members from the Mondovi American Legion Post 154. Please stand. We also have some members of the Mondovi VFW Post Auxiliary, post number 6711. At this time, as we get very close to unveiling the memorial, we have a person in our midst here in Buffalo County. He is the 5th generation of a family that has lived in Buffalo County. 5 brothers came to live in Buffalo County in 1854. During the Civil War, all 5 brothers saw fit to enlist in the Union Army and serve in the Civil War. Today, past Judge Gary Slushstein, who has a brother whose name is inscribed in granite as a casualty of the Cold War, will share with us some appropriate words prior to dedicating this memorial. Judge Gary, please.
My fellow citizens, the Lord has certainly blessed us with a beautiful day today for this glorious proceeding. And He certainly blessed us with a freedom that is the greatest of all the nations in the world. And like it says in your bulletin, however, freedom simply is not free. As it says in your bulletin, freedom must be watered with the blood of patriots and the blood of American veterans. And this monument here that we dedicate today recognizes all those who have fought and served in a hell not of their own choosing. Every name on every brick down here did whatever was needed to be done to keep our country free. And now we're just about to unveil the center of our monument. These blocks of granite here with the names of those who gave their lives that we might live in freedom. And my fellow citizens, as that veil is lifted from this monument, I ask you at that time to stand, place your left hand over your heart, and offer a silent prayer of thanks for what was given as a gift for you and I, those persons who gave their lives that we might live in freedom. And while you're doing that, and while the song is being sung, I ask that you also remember 3 things and take a pledge in that regard. Of those 3 things, 1, remember them in your hearts. 2, honor them in your memories. And 3, protect that gift of freedom that they gave you in all of our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Gary. Today we have with us one Gold Star mother who will have the great honor of cutting the ribbon to unveil this memorial. For those of you who don't know what a Gold Star mother is, she is the parent of a son or a daughter who died defending their country. I can say no further words about them. Today we have with us Mrs. Frances Johnson. Her son's name appears on this memorial. Her son, Jerome Johnson, died defending his country during the Cold War. Louis Hoskishill of Mondovi Legion Post 154 will assist Frances with the ribbon cutting at this time. And then we'll unveil the memorial. While the memorial is being unveiled, Miss Faye Sandberg Severson will sing a most appropriate song she also wrote. Please stand during these ceremonies.
Drum, hear the sound of the horn. our men and our women in a strange foreign land, where USA proud of each one of you. We'll help carry you through our hearts and our prayers. We honor you, soldier, our rock and our stand. For USA, soldier, forever proudly we'll stand. Hear the beat of the drum, hear the sound of the horn. Our men and our women in a strange foreign land, where USA proud of each one of you. We'll help carry you through our hearts and our prayers. We honor you, soldier, our rock and our stand. For USA, soldier, forever proudly we'll stand. Hold your head high from the red, white, and blue. You know our country is dependent on you. Through prayer and through song, we're thinking of you. We display our flag proudly in honor of you. Hear the beat of the drum, hear the sound of the horn. Our men and our women in the strange foreign land, where USA proud of each one of you. We'll help carry you through our hearts and our prayers. We honor you, soldier, our rock and our stand. For USA, soldier, forever proud from a distant troubled land. Our men and women go, they proudly bear armor to protect and save our land. It's peace and love we pray for throughout this world at hand. For USA, soldier, forever proudly we'll stand. Hear the beat of the drum, hear the sound of the horn. Our men and our women in a strange foreign land, where USA proud of each one of you. We'll help carry you through our hearts and our prayers. We honor you, soldier, our rock and our stand. For USA, soldier, forever proudly we'll stand.
Thank you, Mrs. Johnson. Thank you, Mrs. Severson. Please be seated. I don't think there's probably any words necessary at this time concerning this memorial anymore. After we finish here today, I'm sure that you will all wish to look at it. And also the bricks of the commemorating the veterans who served their country but who survived their experience. Now we need to move on to an interesting part of our program, not the boring part. To better help us understand just how this memorial came to be 140 years, literally to the day after our first Buffalo County residents went off to war, is Mr. Burgee Richer. Burgee was born in Buffalo County a long, long time ago. He piloted a B-25 Mitchell medium bomber in combat raids over Japan and the surrounding waters during the last year of World War II. He survived that experience and he returned to Buffalo County, where he has held many positions for the past 55 years. In the interest of saving a lot of time, I will simply mention, to name a few. He was Buffalo County Highway Department Commissioner for many years and the Mayor of Alma for many years. And for the past 2.5 years, I assure you, he has been the full-time chairman of the Buffalo County Veterans Memorial Committee that made this happen. Our friend and my comrade, Mr. Burgee Richard.
Commander Thomas, Chairman Graskowski, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here. Hello and welcome. Preliminary instructions from our Chairman, Charles McCabe, was to keep this presentation within 5 minutes. Keeping this presentation within 5 minutes is like putting this whole group in a phone booth. So it's going to be a little longer, 5 minutes. This project is a spin-off of the Buffalo County Sesquicentennial Pictorial History Project. And soon after completing that project, Gary Flushstein and I met on the steps of the courthouse and talked about the need to recognize the Buffalo County veterans that served this country and lost their lives in the process. With no plans, no money, and no site, these massive walls here at the courthouse loomed before us, and the thought of using them for a memorial project entered into our conversation. In fact, the thought was so intriguing that I made a trip down to see Al Cockendorfer and brought up the idea of doing some sort of a veterans memorial with the possibility of using the courthouse site and the granite walls should there be enough support amongst several veteran groups and, of course, the blessing of the county board who owns the property. There was only one way to find out. We needed to get the 7 veteran groups together and discuss the issue. Each of the 7 post commanders were then contacted and asked to appoint 2 members to serve on a steering committee to discuss the possibility of doing a Veterans Memorial project of some sort. We asked that the appointees be members that were willing to take make a firm commitment to the project, because pursuing this project would require many meetings and much personal effort. The first meeting of this group was held on March 23rd, 1999. This first meeting was devoted to forming an organization. The general idea of a veteran memorial and discussed a general idea of the veteran memorial. The issues of site, money, and type of memorial were identified and discussed. There seemed to be enough support to proceed with the project. So a list of various options and ideas were developed and sent to the various posts for member comment. It was also decided that the final committee would consist of a representative from each veteran post, the county board chairman, the president of the Buffalo County Historical Society, and the president of the Buffalo County Historical Society. It was correctly anticipated that a venture of this nature would require a very comprehensive financial record-keeping system, so Sandra Ebert was asked to serve as the committee treasurer. She accepted the challenge and has done a great job, for which we are all very grateful. The next meeting was held on April 26, 1999. The results of the questionnaire indicated that there was a general support for some sort of a memorial project at this courthouse site, but little support for the use of the courthouse walls. That option also had met with some somewhat cold response from the county, so the idea was abandoned. There was also strong support to provide some sort of a memorial would recognize the names of those veterans that left for Buffalo County and lost their lives while in the honorable service of their country. By this time, the need for some money, for some seed money, had developed for postage and expenses. It was decided to assess each post a sum of $200 as startup money. The site at the northwestern corner here of the courthouse lot was selected, and a landscape architect was engaged to prepare 3 alternative site plans suitable for a Greek-paneled monument to recognize the various wars that were fought since Buffalo County was founded. With the site plan being decided, the next process would be to get county board approval and research the available records for the information that would be required to develop the type of memorial that was envisioned. This was thought to be easy. It was anticipated that this type of information would be available at the County Veteran Service Office. However, to our surprise and disappointment, it was discovered that there was very little information available locally. There was 1 volume of the 2 volumes of the Wisconsin Soldiers of the Civil War at the local Historical Society office. The volume number 1 was not missing. The information that we needed for this project was in those manuals, and after a detailed search, the other volume was located in the archives of the La Crosse Library. Since archives articles stored in the archives could not be removed, it was necessary to make several trips to La Crosse to obtain the information needed to develop the Civil War panel. The results of this research provided a very detailed list of the people that left from Buffalo County in the Civil War. The regiment, the company, the date of entry, the date of termination, and the final disposition of each veteran was discovered. That information was gathered, computerized, alphabetized, proofread, corrected again, proofread again, and the information later became a part of the Buffalo County Sesquicentennial display in the courthouse lobby. To our surprise and dismay, when we started researching the other wars, we found that information was very, very sparse. And we found that the Wisconsin military records were kept at the archives in St. Louis, Missouri, and there had been a fire, and there was water damage and fire damage too, so the records were utterly destroyed. So we used the local newspapers and the microfilm records of former papers to establish our list. And again, the names were listed, alphabetized, proofread, and all the proofreading was done by Ruth Briding, Phyllis Snyder, Blanche Snyder, 3 auxiliary members from the Alma Post. To them, we are deeply indebted for the many hours of poring over hundreds of names to check and recheck for spelling and other irregularities, of which there were many. Of course, the most important part of any project is the financial program required to meet all obligations. After much deliberation and discussion, it was decided to go to the sale of memorial bricks that would be available for any person that met the criteria of being a veteran. With this vision for a guide, we developed a plan that started out to be very basic, but could be enhanced if the sale of brick exceeded early estimates. A scale model of the memorial and a thermometer to display the fundraising results were installed in the courthouse and displayed at the various Legion and VFW posts. Brochures for the brick orders were developed, printed, and distributed to the various posts, and the brick orders began to roll in. My early predictions of how many bricks we could sell has provided me with a steady and abundant diet of crow. I humbly admit that my early predictions were grossly erred and on the low side. Due to the extra revenue, we periodically enhanced the project by adding the brick facing around the monument. We added the bronze torch on top of the monument. We added the eagle behind the monument. We added the railing around the monument. We extended the area up on top here to increase the area for brick. And we put seats on the monument floor. All did not go well, however. We lost Bob Bloss, our Veteran Service Officer and Secretary of the Veterans Memorial Committee, and a key player in this project. We were fortunate having Bruce Siverson come aboard and ably take over the secretary duties. Due to the nature of this project and the efforts to keep costs down, land were developed locally, and the work was contracted to local contractors who had the expertise to accomplish the various phases of work. Much of the other work was done by volunteers, to whom we are also deeply indebted. The project took over 2 years to plan and construct, and many people were involved in the various phases, so I hesitate to mention names for the fear of omitting someone. But you all know who you are, and you can be proud to have been a part of this memorial. Special recognition, though, is extended to Carol Biebenheiser for the many hours they spent proofreading and alphabetizing the hundreds of brick. Also to Julia Nelson, who ably came aboard to do all of the cutting for the memorial brick. And of course to the memorial committee and the dedication committee. Members who were recognized, these members are recognized in the memorial brochure. They diligently worked and devoted their time and efforts to this project. There were issues that were difficult and controversial, but you as a committee were the kind of people that worked through such hurdles to bring this project to a close. And finally properly recognize all those Buffalo County veterans that gave their all so that all can remain free. It has been indeed a great pleasure to experience to have worked with this great group to accomplish this project. We're proud of it. Thank you all.
Would Sandy Ebert please come forward? You know, we like to write notes down and so forth on for these programs and that, but there's some things that are so close to the heart that you simply can't put in words. Burgee spawned this idea and he made it happen. I will tell you that I have never sat down with 14 more cantankerous human beings than the 2 representatives from each of the 7 veterans organizations. They are spirited, free-thinking, dedicated, committed to their thoughts sort of people. We soon would have been fighting without a man of incredible ability to keep us focused to get the job done that we set about to do. And I will tell you, that man was Burgee Richard. 80-year-old man almost, out here also. He didn't chair the committee just. He was also the person who did the legwork, much of the legwork. Somehow, I thought the committee was supposed to do that, but we picked on him. He was retired, so he also got to do the legwork. And a few short days ago, when it was approaching dedication time here, bricks were coming in from the engraver and they needed to be laid in large numbers. So we had an 80-year-old man out here on much hotter days than this laying these bricks. I will tell you, there's nothing he didn't do. And he and his loyal sidekick, and our loyal sidekick, who worked many, many extra hours here at the courthouse, doing administrative work, secretarial work, and treasurer work, also made this possible. And we all have had a special working relationship. So at this time, Sandy and I would like to present Burgee Richard a plaque shaped like Buffalo County. And it simply states, for the many hours that you dedicated to the Buffalo County Veterans Memorial. And it has an image of the memorial inscribed on it. And it also says everything that needs to be said. You made it all happen. Thank you, Burgee Richard.
I would like to inform you that I am not 80 years old. I'm only close to being 80 years old. This project has been a project that has been a fun project. I'm not going to dwell on it any farther. You see the monument. This is the result of a couple of years' work, and I'm glad to see the number of people turn out. Thank you very much.
Told me I have to be careful what I say to him, but he actually is a young 80, you know, like 60 going on 78. And I want to thank Virgie too and the committee that I worked with. It was a pleasure.
We very much appreciate the presence of other dignitaries that are here in attendance today. You know, they're taking time from their very busy lives and so forth to be with us today. State Senator and fellow veteran Rod Lone is actually conducting legislative business today and could not be here. Our state assembly person, Barb Gronimus, is attending the funeral of a close friend today, so obviously could not be here. But our old standby, our superb United States Congressman, that is our representative in the United States House of Representatives, representing our 3rd Congressional District here, Ron Kind is here today with us to say a few words. Ron, please.
Thank you very much, Al. I may be old, but at least I'm not 80 yet. I have that going for me. Thank you, Al, very much for that kind introduction. Father Steiner, Commander Thomas, Virgie Richard, who many of us refer to as the big toe of Alma because he leads us and gets us marching in so many of the worthwhile projects right here in this great community. Members of the Memorial Committee and Dedication Committee, distinguished guests, family, friends, neighbors. I don't think it gets more all-American than this. For family and friends and the community to gather on a day lit by the sun overlooking the beautiful and mighty Mississippi River under the shadow of the American flag to dedicate this Veterans Memorial with the commingling of the youth of our country with our seniors, most importantly with our veterans. It's been said that one of the most important words in the English language is remember. Remember who you are. Remember where you came from. Remember what is truly important. Today, we all have a chance to remember the basic fiber of American society, our freedom, and to remember who made it possible, our veterans. And this year in particular, it's important to remember that 60 years ago on December 7, 1941, the Japanese sneak attack upon Pearl Harbor woke our country from its isolationist slumber, united its people in the spirit of shared sacrifice, and forged a noble common purpose at the cost of 1,800 American sailors in less than 2 hours, including my mother's own cousin who was serving on the USS Arizona and perished with his colleagues. It's hard to imagine a single event that had greater instant effect on the behavior of an entire American generation. A generation that's been called America's greatest. Nostalgia and the aging of this generation has led to an explosion of new books and movies and documentaries, and it's justly so. These were ordinary men and women who were thrust into extraordinary circumstances. They bore the burden of defending freedom and our way of life, not just for us, but also for most of the world. They did it for their country, they did it for their ideals, and they did it for their buddy in the next foxhole. And thank God they did it so well. And today we also have an opportunity, a chance to remember the sacrifice given by the generation of the First World War and the scared young men who sometimes fought their own family members in the American Civil War. We have a chance to remember those who answered freedom's call in distant lands called Korea and Vietnam, despite at times widespread anti-war sentiment in the country at the time. And we have a chance to remember our neighbors and friends who fought in the Persian Gulf or in Somalia. We also have a chance to remember our military men and women serving in uniform today. During the war in the Balkans, the native people gathered in the streets to cheer our soldiers as they entered their villages. They knew that our soldiers brought with them the hope of liberation and freedom. And finally, let us remember that this memorial is more than just bricks and marble. Let us remember that freedom has a price paid by many who, in Abraham Lincoln's words, gave their last full measure of devotion, and paid by many who are still with us today, those who served and those who are still serving. And God help our country if we ever do forget. So I want to thank our veterans today, those who have served and sacrificed, those who are still with us. And so we can properly acknowledge you and recognize you. With the veterans, stand or raise your hands in the crowd so you may see where you are. Thank you very much. And lastly, let me ask of our veterans one last request. Last year, I drafted legislation that was enacted into law called the Veterans History Project. I too believe that it's vitally important that we remember our veterans, remember some of the most important moments of our nation's history that defined us, who we are as a country and as a people. And what we are asking our veterans who want to participate to do is to make copies of any letters or diaries that you may have kept during the service of your country, so we can send those copies to the Library of Congress, the world's largest library, and create a national archive. And also to have your family, or have student groups, or have friends or neighbors videotape you, so you may talk about your experience in serving your country, so we can create a national archive of our nation's oral history, so we can better appreciate the sacrifice that was given, but more importantly, so future generations, children sitting in our classrooms 100 or 200 years from now will be able to pop up on their internet screens the oral history of our veterans, so they would better appreciate the sacrifice that was made. I believe this is a worthwhile project, and I hope our veterans will choose to give one more part of themselves to our country so that future generations many years from now will also be able to remember. Thank you again. God bless our families, God bless our veterans, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Kine. Most appropriate words. The last dignitary today speaking is the chairman of the Buffalo County Board. That person and the Buffalo County Board made many things possible for this monument. They provided the space here for it and all the other necessary support that the county could render to provide to make this possible. At this time, Mr. Ron Drazkowski, chairman of the Buffalo County Board of Supervisors, please.
On behalf of the Buffalo County Board of Supervisors, I'm honored to be part of this dedication service today. I honor the men and women who served in our country in war and peacetime. It is truly an asset to the county to have a memorial such as this, and the board wishes to thank all whom contributed in many ways to the Veterans War Memorial that is here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Our next and last brief speaker, our guest speaker today is Mr. Robert Thomas. Bob Thomas is from Siren, Wisconsin. He's a U.S. Navy veteran from 1950 to 54. He served 2 tours of duty in Korea, and he's participated in 6 major campaigns in the Korean War. He is the 84th commander of the Wisconsin American Legion and the first one of the 21st century. Bob is also a life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. His wife, June Thomas, his wife of 46 years, is with him today. I would like to present American Legion State Commander from the state of Wisconsin, Mr. Robert Thomas. Bob?
I'm short-winded. It is truly a great honor to serve as State Commander of the Wisconsin American Legion. And it is truly a great honor to be here and participate in the dedication of this Buffalo County Memorial today. The 20th century was America's century. No other country had more influence over the progress of the 20th century than the United States. Perhaps no other country has ever had more influence over any century. The United States, founded on the principles of liberty and equality, played pivotal and dominant roles in all the military wars and struggles against tyranny and oppression. The United States has been the unsurpassed industrial, commercial, strategic, financial, and technological power of the world. No other country dominates so many different areas of life. Steadfast determination and unflagging commitment to the values which made this country great enabled the United States to emerge from the long and bitter Cold War as the world's unchallenged leader near the end of the century. The United States remains today that shining city on the hill, envisioned by our founders. May America's future generations and future leaders uphold this noble and enduring legacy. God bless the United States of America. God bless you. Thank you.
The Alma High School Band will now play us a number, Salute to America. Thank you to the fine young people of the Alma High School Band. At this time, we will have a benediction given by Chaplain Steiner, and we'll conclude the program then with a volley and taps. First, we please rise for the benediction.
This prayer is a poem that was found in a hospital in the Philippines during World War II. A nurse kept it, and later it was published in the Reader's Digest in the 1970s. Let them in, Peter. They are very tired. Give them couches where the angels sleep. Let them wake whole again to new dawns fired by the sun, not wartime's bloody guns. And may their peace be deep. Remember where the broken bodies lie. God knows how young they were to have to die. So give them things they like. Let them make some noise. Give swing bands and dance hall bands and rock bands, not golden harps, to these our kids. Let them love, Peter, for they've had no time. They should have trees and songbirds and hills to climb, the taste of summer in a ripened pear, and girls sweet as meadow wind with flowing hair. And tell them how they are missed. But say not to fear, it's going to be all right with us down here. Let them in, Peter. Let them in. Please remain standing
A composite firing squad under the command of Jerome Klevgard of Gilmington Legion Post 264. Jerome's brother's name is etched in the Korean panel of this monument. They will fire a volley of 3 shots in honor of our departed comrades. The squad is composed of members of all 7 VFW and American Legion posts in Buffalo County. Please stand during this gun salute and remain standing for the playing of taps by Jim Schromeyer, member of Mountain City American Legion Post 56. Firing detail. This concludes our organized dedication ceremony. I ask you to please stay a few minutes and take a look at what we have created here. And I want you to notice the 2 blank back panels that stand starkly bare on the back wall, in contrast to the far too many names that are on the memorial. Congressman Kind, you must do what you must do in conducting the foreign affairs of this country. But we as a people here in Buffalo County ask you to use great discretion before you send our young men and women off in harm's way. We would like to keep these blank panels blank. Thank you all for attending. Free refreshments are available at the Alma American Legion Post, also light snacks. And a special thank you to a man truly working behind the scenes today, Carl Dooley, for providing a PA system that actually worked. Carl? Thank you so much for attending. That concludes our services.